Hello, my friends. This is Rick, and this is your seat at the table. This is a kind of a rare piece. I mean, I've only I got it. I don't know how many people out there. I don't see it come up when I do eBay searches and Amazon searches very often. But this would be kind of a runner up to the second edition rules for MERP. This came with a nice big color map of Middle Earth, which I have and I've used for backstop once or twice. Obviously, this is House Baron of the Hearst House of Mrs. That's a Breath of Ass of the Hand, right? Completely different, fantasy setting. But hey, it's just a backstop. So what this is basically is a collection of updated rules and material and uh, backstory stuff for your settings for Middle Earth or whatever your adventures are. So what we have is a full 24-inch by 36-inch poster map of Middle Earth, including wildlands, descriptions of principal inhabitants of Middle Earth, including a language tree and linguistic data, cultural notes, and an in-depth line, maps and notes on Middle Earth's topography, climate, trade routes, population centers, guidelines for incorporating Middle Earth into any major role-playing system. See, now I've preached this enough times. It's one of the things that I always liked about MERP from the get-go. Middle Earth role-playing game system created by Iron Crown was fully intended to be incorporated into any role mechanic system you like to use. Because Rollmaster Dungeons and Dragons. I used the Dungeons and Dragons rules a lot by playing this as the backstop of the world because a lot of the players that I had, especially when I had some rotating people coming in and out, they were familiar enough with D&D and how D&D worked that I didn't have to spend an inordinate amount of time educating them on the new system that comes the actual original game system set up for MERP. And for a lot of people who are not familiar with the percentile style of systems of the D100s, it can be daunting or confusing, to say the least, for those who only know the D20 system. Uh, I've been through since, like I said, the 70s, the earliest editions of D&D and Rollmaster and other game systems that come up, and they were competing dice systems, mechanics. Uh, the D6s, the original D6 system that D&D started with, and then gradually went to a D20 when it just become more easy. The D20 system is actually a derivative variant of the D100 because the D100 precedes it. And although there are people out there who will argue that, but that's the fact, and it's not hard to convert. Obviously, a D20 breaks into a D100 really simple. So, in the case of a +1 weapon in Dungeons and Dragons, it would be the equivalent of a +5 weapon here, or a +20, depending on how you want to look at it, because you're affected by 5 times the system. That's basically all it's about. The only real significant difference between the two is that Rollmaster loved its charts, and the D100s would allow them to have a wider range of stuff. Hello, Fluffy. Yes. You coming in to see us? That's our neighbor, one of our neighbor kitties that keeps been living in our garage all winter to keep them warm. He came walking in the door like yes. Kids out. He's a big. He's almost as big as a dog. Yes. Yes, you're not going to let me get away with not petting you, are you? Yeah, okay. Come in. Yes. Flop, flop, flop on the ground, roll around. Okay, so we have, like I said, definitions in terms of sources, the source material, based on J.R.R. See, I'm getting confused. I'm talking Tolkien stuff. Geography, placement art, indoor and art of the land, the water, the great deserts, the forests, oceans and coastal waters, climate and weather, Andor and its overview of nations and politics, a historical overview of the West before time, first age, second age, rise of so you basically have a running timeline here that goes through quite a few pages through the first, second, and into the third age. Hey, be nice. That's not nice, Frankie. Frankie, our shelter cat. What, he in here spot? Yeah, yeah. See, he's a big old baby. Yes, he is. What? Yeah? Is you a big baby? Are you a big baby? Yes, you are. Look at just big baby. Yeah, he's just a big baby. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Yeah. No, don't climb on the laptop. Okay. Yeah. So we got wildlands, influence of darkness, new marine footholds in the wildlands, spread of peoples, wildlands after Third Age 1, indoors inhabitants, the free people, breakdown by the elves. Section includes a listing of various free peoples and details breakdown related to folk who are often or usually live in the darkness or ignorance. Latter groups are more properly bound to their own beliefs and culture and follow the word of Sauron because of fear of recent political religious changes. For this reason, the GM should be reluctant to consider them, quote, creatures of darkness. That's a point. The humans of the East, no matter how foul and evil seeming they may be, are not generally speaking as creatures of darkness. They're not like orcs. So the men of Herod, the Southrons, the Easterlings, these are just human groups of individual people who are motivated by different reasons and often in some cases controlled by evil and misguided people. So the generally speaking, most Easterlings are not evil people, they're just different from Westernlings, if you want, right? Dwarves, Ents, hobbits, humans, the Dunedain. It's just the thing about the hobbits, we never quite understand their true origin story, how they came. We know about everybody else. The human breakdowns of Dunlandings, Dora, the Drúdain, Easterlings, Herodin, Lothos, the Rags, Northmen. We get into the servants of darkness, the Bolrogs, which are precious few of, thankfully, the Nazgul, orcs, the trolls, etc. I mean, languages of Middle Earth is, if you're any kind of student of Tolkien's work, you know that Professor Tolkien loved languages. It was his big forte, and he spent an awful lot of time working on the actual language structure and wording and verbiage and everything that goes with a number of languages, including what we consider Elvish language in the modern era and the dark speech, etc., etc. So Elvish writing, notes on speech, Northern Mannish languages, Sylvan tongues, Southern Mannish languages, languages in the wildlands, east, south, and north. The use of power in Middle Earth. Let's see. Yeah, yes, I know. Yes, you are quite vocal. Yes. So you talk about the use of power in Middle Earth and power in the Mass versus power elsewhere in Middle Earth. Oh, no. God damn it. Get off the laptop. Excuse the French, but I don't like them stepping on my laptop. Trigger the wrong stuff. He just climbed up, and that cat can jump 5 feet straight up in the air. He does it in the garage all the time, and he's constantly, like I said, he's a moose. Yes, you're a moose. We know you're a moose. But I told you to stay off the laptop. Yes? And just a minute. Cat, come on. Get your butt out there. Jeez. I love my cats, I do, but there's a certain place and time for the cats. And I don't want to go back and redo this entire video. So enjoy the chaos, all right, because it's almost over. The use of power in Middle Earth, powers and we're talking power. It's a bit vague and confusing because we're talking about magic and not political power. And he was something that the idea was is that magic in the earlier first age, second age was much more prevalent. By the third age, it's much rarer to find true powerful magic. Those who can use it don't generally go around like with C in Dungeons and Dragons. Now, when I role play a game when I run a Middle Earth setting, I tend to ignore that and allow the characters to utilize magic as you would in any fantasy settings, because that's kind of what is expected. It's what the players are expecting. So, you know, there's a reason why in the role-playing book, or the role-playing guide for MERP, that magic is not quite as well defined and is nowhere near as expansive. It's the same with clerical power, quote, clerical magic, because we don't have the gods are really not gods in the sense that they're used in a Dungeons and Dragons style, sword and sorcery style game system, and they don't grant magic abilities to their clergy. And there's only one. Well, there's numerous possible dark religions in the world. The only one that anybody takes any kind of presence is the one attached to Morgoth and Sauron, which in some direct aspects they gain some power, but it's not. This doesn't work the same way, and it's very poorly defined because nobody ever quite understood how Tolkien really wanted it to play out. Other than if you look how Gandalf uses power sparingly. And he even makes a comment where by setting, he started a fire, and by doing so, he basically set up a beacon or a flare to everybody within 1,000 miles that's specifically Saruman, that he's in the neighborhood. Because another creator of great power or user of great power can into some aspects like the Force sense another user of power, so, or magic. So it's one of those things that they went out of their way to avoid. So we got maps and modules and their uses, the use of the continental maps, integrating Middle Earth role-playing game into a fantasy role-playing game. So taking MERP and using it in something like D&D, and how to convert, how to change things, and usually it's just, I just overlay the mechanics. It's the simplest way to do it, in my opinion. So this is a nice little piece, and you can see I've read it a lot over the years. It's seen some rough times, but I found some inspiration out of it, and some other basic information that are come along later in some of the bigger books and modules, and especially the Game Master books. But there's still always something more to be found, and alternate sources can also be useful. So this is Rick, and I hope you have a good day.